Let's try this new one, see how it goes. Hey folks, welcome to Breakfast with the Beachside CEO. This is Troy Dooley, and we are not at Maple Street. We are down at the office on the island. Matter of fact, we are getting ready to set up a new studio and stuff, so it's going to be fun. We're trying out a new mic. If you guys are listening, I'm going to see if I can see anything. Let me know if the mic is coming across loud and clear, because we are doing some new stuff today. I also want to make an announcement. I'm excited about this. You guys can see this in the show notes. I will be with the unstoppable mama, Rhonda Swan, tonight on her show. We've put the link up there. And I tell you what, this is such an honor to me, because if you guys have followed the Unstoppable family, the Unstoppable Mama, just Rhonda and Brian's brand, and what is a family with their beautiful little girl they've been able to do, it's amazing. It truly is what I think a family that's doing what they say they want to do. It's what we all dream about. It's what we all talk about. And yet so many times we let ourselves stop. We don't follow through. And they have been able to follow through in a good way. Hey, if Chris Hanks, you're on here, if you can just pop over and let me know if my mic is coming across loud and clear today, because we're using a new mic. So just pop that over if you can. But tonight I will be on the Unstoppable Show. We'll be talking about the 5 pillars of gaining and keeping trust. We're in a post-trust era, what we call a PTO. And nice to hear you. Good morning. Okay, Cynthia, can you hear me loud and clear? I'm assuming. Looks like so. I'm going to be on that show. You guys are going to have a blast with that. Sounding clear and great, perfect. So it's going to be fun. But today I want to focus in on 13 principles of what it means to be a youpreneur in the you economy. Again, in the show notes, in the disclaimer, I did put in there, Chris Ducker out of the UK coined the youpreneur back in 2014. He was at a big conference in San Diego, probably the social media conference that's down there. It's a great conference. I follow these guys. I'm part of all their memberships, and truly, they have been a big influence in my life. One of the things you will find in what we have done in working through who we are and trying to define in a you economy, hey, what does Troy Dooley, what's the Beachside CEO, what does our brand stand for? And we're still working on it, but I've gone to people outside of the direct sales industry, outside of the normal people that you might see, because I wanted to expand that. That's why we brought in sponsors and supporters like Maple Street Biscuit Company. Maple Street has nothing to do with direct sales. They are a Southern grown out of Jacksonville, Florida restaurant franchise. Matter of fact, they're actually working on a new prototype that's in the Mexican food. So I'm excited about that. But we want to go outside. You guys know Freddie Sheets over at Allen's Cool Ink here on the island, who does all of my ink. Well, I won't take that back. John Anderson did some of this, but the majority of my ink comes from Freddie. Freddie is one of my supporters. None of our supporters may have the same opinions or views that we do, but we look for people that's going to let us grow. And if you're in any business right now, or maybe you're just working that 9 to 5 and you're saying, I don't know what I want to do. I know I want to do something, but I'm not sure what. That's why we do the shows. Now, I didn't do the show yesterday on purpose, because I want to introduce Rhonda Swan and what the Unstoppable brand means. And I really do challenge you, not just to look up the Unstoppable family, here on Facebook, but to go to the website, really study what a family can do who, number one, work the 9 to 5 grind. Brian's hilarious. Brian was a corporate engineer. He's just an engineering guy. Today, he's the Unstoppable surfer. When you look at their beautiful daughter, who's now in her own right, a youpreneur, has a clothing line. They're on a book tour right now with their new book. Passionate. They are filling the second generation. And when you look at Rhonda has taken who and what she is and created the Unstoppable branding agency. She's got Unstoppable Mama. She's with the Unstoppable family. And here's something before I get into today's show that I think is unique and important. And this is going to be some of what's on tonight's live with her and her tribe. And you guys, again, you can join in, kind of see. But here's the deal. She really did take, and as a family, they decided enough is enough. Brian was still working. She quit her job, didn't want her baby girl to be in a daycare, decided she was going to do something different. And the responsibility went on her to be able to prove that business model out. And what started, I'm trying to think back, I think what started as a 2-year epic adventure literally has been 8-9 years now in the making. They have traveled the world. They simplified their life. They got rid of the stuff that was holding them back. And sometimes we don't give that a thought. And as I was reading her story over the last, it's been a couple of years now, but over the last couple of years, as I've just followed, I was like that internet voyeur out there before we connected. I started to realize, hey, this is a woman that's true to her narrative. That story that she created, that's what she's living. Somebody else who is a big supporter and I'm a fan of his is Corey Augustine. And Corey is another one. Took his family to the Philippines and just said, look, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to live a life. And has taken his business model, and that's what they do. So when you look at where you're at today, and we're going to segue into the show now. When you look at where you're at, and you say, I don't know if this is for me. I don't know if I can get out of the grind. Then I want you to know something. Right now, over 32% of America, and I don't know what it is worldwide. If some of you guys in some awesome countries out there can pop us over the stats, it would be awesome. But in America, 32% of the workforce today are what we call freelancers or youpreneurs. They may or may not be in a direct selling business. They may or may not be building some type of an internet, empire, if you will. But they are freelance 1099s. And it's becoming so big that California just passed a law trying to make share ride drivers employees because they're losing out on tax money. Now think about that for a minute. If California's doing this and they're penalizing the youpreneur out there, the person that doesn't have a business, it's just you, and they're trying to penalize that and make you an employee again, where are things going? We need to really think that through, work with your state legislatures in America, look at other countries and make sure that we're not going to be taxed. We're not going to be forced, if you will, to be employees. This is the freedom that everyone wants. And we want to keep that going. So let's look at the 13 principles that are needed if you want to become a youpreneur. Now, this will be on YouTube. It'll be on Facebook. It'll be on the blog and all that good stuff. So you can always write these down. I will not put this kind of stuff in the show notes. This is why we push everybody back to a blog. And I'm just going to segue for a minute. If you're wanting to build your youpreneur brand, don't do it on rented space like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest. Those are great. Those are the hubs, if you will. But you need to control the actual house that you're building, and that needs to be your website, your blog, something that you fully control, branded to who you are. So keep that in mind. That's just a freebie. Number one, understand that there are numerous paths to the same finish line. So many times, and I see this prevalent both in internet marketing and direct sales. Okay, it's our way or the highway. You got to get in here, follow my plan. It's duplicatable. If you will do exactly what I say, then you will have the success that I've had. And man, the ink's not even clean on the dude's doggone contract yet. I mean, he just joined too. And here they are saying this stuff. We need to be clear. You need to follow the path that's right for you, not what's right for everybody else. Now, it may be a great company. You may say, man, this is awesome. Go for it. But then again, you may get into a company and realize, man, this isn't what I thought it was. I'm not into the culture. It doesn't work for me. I'm going to go look for something else. That doesn't make you a quitter. It makes you a winner. It means you realized early on, okay, this one wasn't what I thought it was. One of my good friends, he's a mentor. He owns a company called YOUEconomy, Corey Citron. Corey was like in 20 some odd companies, I think, before he was 21. Now, it was probably a little longer than that. But over the years, he found out what his niche was, what he loved, what he wanted to do. And then him and his partners, they launched YOUEconomy, and it's been a great success ever since. You have to look at what's right for you, not what's right for everybody else, not what's right for the guy that got you into the business. We live in the 21st century where there are so many opportunities out there. Now, one of the things that you will hear, and I want you guys to know this, because look, we just try to be raw and clear here. A lot of times in direct sales, what you will hear is, well, we're the only company with residual income. In the old days, that was honestly true. I mean, when you look at the Amways, when you look at the Avons, when you look at the Watkins products, when you look at the Primericas and the Legal Shields and all of those awesome companies, they were built on a legit business model that sustains itself. Sadly, a lot of companies, either because of the product margins, because shifts in economies, because of bad leadership. I mean, let's just be realistic here, because they didn't shift with the times with regulatory spray and all this other stuff. Residual income ends just like that. Ask the folks over at Advocare. Ask the folks at Vima. So what you have to do is find out what's right for you. Principle number 2, be selfish. Did he just say that? But understand that it's not about you. Here's what I mean by that. You need to be selfish with your time, what's right for your family, where you want to go. But when it comes to the marketing side, when it comes to acquiring customers, when it comes to building out your brand, it's never about you. I'll be talking about this on the show tonight. It's always about the people that you want to serve. Tyler Reagan, one of my personal mentors, wrote a book called The Life-Giving Leader. And in that book, he talks about the fact that as a leader, it's never about you. It's always about the people that you're serving, whether that's an individual, whether it's an organization, whether it's your family. Here's the big one. Or whether it's your boss. See, if you're working a 9 to 5 and you're wanting to put a little bit of your time and energy into doing a side gig, a cottage industry, gig economy, the YOUEconomy, whatever we want to call it, a lot of terms. The first thing you have to do is you have to serve where you're actually being paid. Because if you're on the job and you're surfing around on Instagram or Facebook or just the internet in general, trying to find a side gig, you're stealing from the boss. That's just some bad habits that are there. That's a crack in the character foundation. We've all done it. I'm looking in the mirror right now. I understand. But you don't want to do that. But you want to be selfish with your time. You have to continue to grow, even when you're in the field. But when it comes to building the brand, when it comes to your narrative, your story, it better be outward focused. I don't know how many times I get on the phone with people, and what they want to tell me, and I mean, we'll go on for 15 minutes if I don't hang up, is how great their product is, how great their company is, how great they are. You can trust us, Troy. Troy, we're the company of integrity. Troy, we've been written up by all these accolades as being the greatest out there. You can find us in Inc. magazine as one of the top 500 companies. I don't care. And nobody else cares. People today, it's a buyer's culture. They know what they want. They know what they're looking for. They want help. And that's what you've got to do. Remember that. Principle number 3, remember that your side gig can help your day job and vice versa. This is huge. You may not like working the 9 to 5, but you love what you do. A prime example are carpenters and guys that work in the auto industry. When you really get into folks that work in the industry, repairing cars, man, it's not a job for them. They're creative people. They love what they do. They love the sound that comes when that engine just purring like crazy. Or if they're in the auto body, they love seeing the sleekness of those hot curves out there. Man, they'll just sit there all day just smiling at them. Okay, they're looking for a side gig. Why would they want to sell health and wellness products? Why would they want to open up a Maple Street place? They may not. So what you've got to be able to do is realize that when you're talking to people and you're building out this brand that's you're that new youpreneur, then be looking for something that's passionate for you. When I was with A.L. Williams in Primerica, I was there 15 years. A lot of you guys know my story. Worked my way up into the ranks and then went over to World Marketing Alliance. I love financial services, and here's why. We were selling hope and opportunity to Middle America. To me, that was the greatest thing under the sun. I was able to go out there and literally help save families' lives. And in the the early 80s, late 90s, the economy was all crazy. We helped a lot of people. And this is something that I've learned. When you're out there building something, then you want to be able to look and say, okay, how can I help that person with their day job? How can I help that with my day job? See, if all of a sudden you're doing better at your day job, and it's because of stuff you learned, you're still probably going to want to be a youpreneur, but you actually may get a raise. You might become into leadership at your day job. That may change your whole focus there too. Just because you think you want to be a youpreneur doesn't mean you're cut out to be a youpreneur. Everybody wants to be the president. Well, not everybody, but a lot of times in life they want to be the president, or they want to be the gal that's on the cheerleading team, or they want to do this, or they want to do that. Everybody's got to do something. And yet, a lot of times we don't know how to do that. We don't even know the path to take because we stop growing ourselves. We get into the 9 to 5, we get into the grind, maybe because our parents told us that's what you needed to do, maybe because that was the only thing that you could qualify for in college, doesn't matter. But all of a sudden, if you change inside and you start growing inside, you may find that you like that day job. You want to keep that day job. And what you end up doing, like so many people that really understand this, you go from working 9 to 5 to all of a sudden you're in management. All of a sudden you're that story of the guy that started out in the mailroom and became CEO of the company. Think about that, guys. You have that ability. You have that opportunity. So take it and run with it. Number 4. Just make sure that your side gig doesn't cost you your day job. Now, this is a huge principle that we've got to look at here. And it goes back to what I said early in the show. You don't want to be surfing the net, looking for stuff, taking phone calls, doing anything under the sun on the day job. That's a lack of integrity. I don't care how pissed off you get at your boss. If you were in his shoes and you had somebody working for you, what are you going to do? You're going to discipline the person if they're stealing from you. And when you're getting paid an hourly wage or you're on salary and you're doing something else, and you haven't told your boss hasn't given you permission, none of that good stuff right there, then you're stealing. And like I said, that's just a crack in the character. That's a crack. It's something that we don't think about until you get in that position a lot of times. So give that some thought. Don't lose your day job. Now, here's something else that you've got to look at. We see this a lot in direct sales, more than we do in some other places. Some franchises will have this, and there's a lot of home-based franchises now, so I want to bring them into the play. If you're working for a company and you have signed any type of an NDA, if you've signed any type of a non-compete, and I'm not talking about you're in a direct sales company. I'm talking about you're working 9 to 5 as an employee, but you're in a very structured place. You could be working in R&D for a food company. You could be working for a pharmaceutical. You could be for a printing company. If you're putting out a brand new type of printer, computers, it goes across the board. We see this happen at Google. We see this happen at Apple. We've seen it at Samsung. All these companies do the same thing. So here's what you've got to do. If you've got an NDA, if you've got any type of agreement with your company, then you don't want to go and launch into a side gig that's going to cause you to lose that day job. Just be cautious. These are principles. Look, you don't just jump into something. Okay, now I know that we live in an instant gratification world, and what I'm about to say may not be relevant in today's culture. But when I started dating Paige, I had to court her a little bit. We went out, we did some stuff. Then I asked her to marry me. Then we got married. Then we had a bunch of kids. Okay, same thing with your site. You don't just jump into it. You want to put these principles to work and make sure that you actually have a plan. Make sure you have a strategy that you're going to be doing. Number 5, be ruthless with your schedule. This is important. When you work a job and you work 9 to 5, and then you want to become independent and you want to go into the YOUEconomy and start a freelance side gig deal, You can't do that if you're running loose. Let's see, today I get off at 5. I could run by the club tonight, have a couple drinks with the guys. Man, and then, I do got that appointment at 9 o'clock. I wonder if I could change that because the ball game's on tonight. I'll shift that. You can't do that. Look, you don't want your side gig to ruin your lifestyle. What you want to be able to do is say, okay, I'm going to slowly move into something. So what can I move into? It's easy when you're looking at something that you're passionate about. And I'm going to give you credit on this one. Maybe you're that kind of person that comes home and part of your relaxation would be working on a car. You might have worked all day, but you're working on the sidecar at home. Greg Sexton, he's like my best bud. We grew up together. He was a mechanic during the day, but then he would work on his friends' cars on the side. He was a youpreneur long before that was a phrase. But he enjoyed that. He was doing it at home. His boys at the time, man, they'd come hang out with him. Jennifer'd come hang out with him. If he was working on my car, I'd just sit there, we'd chat, we'd take a whole night. But he took care of business because it was what he loved to do. Maybe you're into woodworking. I've got a good friend of mine here on the island. He's in technology. So all day long, he's working on the computer. He's setting up networks for people. You don't do stuff with your hands. But I can call him up at any time and say, hey, man, will you make me one of those wooden cool pins that you have? And he'll take a piece of wood, using a lathe, and the next thing you know, he's got this beautiful wooden pin that he's created. Okay, that's a side gig. He started that as a hobby, just as therapy, because he wanted to see his hands working on something. And today he's got a great side gig because he's just selling these things like crazy. That's what we're talking about. So be cautious with your calendar. Get a whiteboard, do whatever you want. Take a day or two, take a few hours. Make sure that every day you're having just a little bit of growth, just a little bit of something that you're doing. Let's look at number 6. Adopt a side hustle mindset within your traditional job. Think about this for a minute. If you've got a traditional job, then start thinking of it as the side hustle. Think about the fact that, okay, man, this is my side hustle. This is what I'm doing. Put it to work for you. Start to realize I'm going to build something new. I'm going to build something that's going to shift my legacy, shift the dynasty of my family. This is just my side hustle right now. I'm focusing in on something brand new. See, when you start shifting your mindset, here's what opens up. You open up the creativity. I just bought a new book because one of my daughters and my wife are two of the most creative individuals. Paige can sit there and look at a story, hear a story, and she's starting to write a book about it. She puts this whole outline together. Tempest, one of my 11-year-olds, will be flying down the highway. She'll see a picture of something. We're 20 miles further, and she's freehand drawing it on there. Man, I can't draw squat. It looks like stick figures. And when it comes to stories, I've had to learn that from Paige, and she's still the one that makes all the money doing it. So, you have to be able to broaden out what you're thinking. Open the paradigms so that you can start becoming more creative. You start to realize, okay, I'm moving in a new direction. Look, you're still going to be scared spitless. The fear is never going to away, or at least the fear should never go away. Because if you're a youpreneur, every morning when you get up, you better be just a little bit scared and realize, man, if I don't do something today, I'm unemployed. And I had this conversation the other day with somebody, and here's what they said. Well, Troy, I'm not employed. I've got residual income. Yeah, ask the Advocare folks how that worked out for them. You better wake up just a little bit scared in a good way and realize, I've got to crank. We've got to go. Going back to Rhonda and Brian, the unstoppable family, they enjoy their lifestyle. They don't want to go back to the 9 to 5. So they've made that the new paradigm for them. This is our life, and we are not going to give it up until we want to give it up. That's what you have to have. Start small, work into it. Number 7, okay? Harness your fear. Now, there's a lot of people in the world today, I'm not scared of anything. We're all afraid of something, and that's not a bad thing either. That keeps us humble, keeps us focused. There's too many people out there think that fear is a bad thing. Here's what I hear. Well, fear and faith can't be housed in the same person. Oh, yeah, they can. Big time. But here's what you've got to do. You've got to realize, look, man, I may be scared. I'm going to do it anyway. I may not know what the outcome is. I'm going to do it anyway. I may stumble and fall. I may look foolish. I'm going to do it anyway. You may get in the middle of something and all of a sudden you screw up so bad that it's plastered all over the internet. You just keep cranking, you're going to do it anyway. That's what happens when we look at fear. Fear is something that is important to us. Matter of fact, some of you guys that are Bible believing folks, this may freak you out with what I'm about to say, and you may decide to defriend me and get rid of me and do all that stuff. But I believe Jesus actually had that moment of fear. See, I think he was kneeling there in the Garden of Gethsemane when he knew, man, they're going to come get me sooner or later, and I'm going to die on a cross. And he prayed to his Father in such an intensity that the Bible says that what happens is that the actual little glands, the capillators, whatever they call them, broke. And his blood, he sweated blood out of those little bitty air. That's undue stress. Stress will do that to you. And I think at that moment, there's a little bit of fear. Gosh, man, is there any other way I could do this? Not fear in a negative way, but fear of, I don't know what's going to happen. This is going to hurt. There's going to be, look, we all go through those moments. Nobody goes through life just fearless. Even the fearless networker isn't totally fearless. See, this is the stuff that you have to harness it, though. You got to put that to work. It's got to be the fuel that's going to help propel you to hit max Q and to be able to burst through the fear to the other side. Too many times people hit the wall and let the fear hold them back. They're just right there, and they hold them back. I was driving down I-70 one day. Paige and I were going up to Idaho, up to McCall, Idaho, just a beautiful place. We were going through the mountains, and I-70 shifted a little bit, and what you saw was this giant drill head drilling into the side of a mountain to make a new tunnel. And I thought, man, that's pretty interesting right there, because when you're drilling through that tunnel, at least in the old days, now it's a lot easier. They got all those little dials and stuff, but in those old days, you were sweating, you were hurting, you had all these men in there, you were grinding, you were blowing out concrete, you were pulling it out. And I've talked to enough of these guys that they all said the same thing. Troy, sometimes, man, we were scared because we were underneath this pile of rock. Sometimes it would little shift and we'd think, man, maybe we need to run away. He goes, and then you'd realize you're almost there. You just got to push through. Come on, we've gone this far. We can do it. It's going to hold. We can make it. That's what we've got to be able to do. Number 8, never work for free. This is going to be good. But understand that payment isn't always in cash. Plain and simple. Think about it. You always want to get paid. Now, I am the worst. I am literally talking to myself right now. My wife does not write a book unless she's got a contract. Now, in the self-publishing world of today, trust me, she writes a book, she puts it out there, she sells, she knows she's making money. In those early days, she didn't just send in a manuscript unless she knew, hey, boom, here's what's going to happen. Here's how that works. She just send in an outline, and then they would tell her, yes, we're going to pay, we're going to buy this from you. Cut her a check, send it to her. It's called an advance. Then she went to work. Both parties had a little bit of skin in the game. Me, on the other hand, because I just love helping people, I get a phone call from somebody, and here's what happens. An hour later, I've given them an hour's worth of time. And she used to get so frustrated at me. Now what do? Now we barter out. Sometimes I just charge. Matter of fact, they'll go to my assistant, Tessa. She sets up the appointment. She collects the money. And then I get on the phone call, and I'll give them more than what they ever dreamed of. Sometimes it doesn't quite work that way. Corporations say, well, Troy, we want you to come in for a day. We don't know if we want to hire you yet. Let's see what we can do. Okay, I'll come in for a day. Here's what it's going to cost you for my travel and my expenses and all that stuff. Then if we decide we want to ink a deal, here's what I'm going to do. I'll deduct that from the first month's retainer. It's a win-win. You figure out what works for you. You figure out how you can make that work. On my show, a lot of my supporters on my show are not paying me cash to be advertisers, but I'll get free coffee, I get a t-shirt, I get something. We do a little bartering, a little exchange. We're helping build each other up because we collaborate. Tonight, prime example on Rhonda's show. Rhonda's introducing me to her tribe. She has enough faith in me. She's studied me enough. She knows that I'm not going to embarrass her, that she brings me on the show. I, on the other hand, am so blessed that I get to be on the show. I'm bringing her into my tribe. I'm letting all the people that follow me know, you guys got to check this girl out. Matter of fact, it was funny. She said, Troy, what free giveaway do you want to give away on my show? I said, nothing. Let's just go build you up. Let's let people know who you are. And I'll do my whole thing around who you are, because there's nothing better than a living, breathing deal. We're bartering that out. No money exchanges hands. Figure out what works for you, but always get paid one way or the other. Just realize it's not always in money. That's the key. Let's look at number 9. I'm going to have to get my glasses on. Seek originality, but know that that's not necessary. Now, this is a big one here. A lot of times in marketing, what you hear is best of breed, first in class, first to market, category creator, all that good stuff. But that's really irrelevant. What's relevant is you. Remember, this is youpreneur in the you economy. This is about you. You need to be the original. Remember early on, it's not about you, it's about them. You've got to focus on that. Don't get, you're not the hero, you're the guide, sort of, if we put it in a word picture. But here's what you want to be able to do. You want to say, what is my difference? What is my uniqueness? What is the one thing you do well? You want to be original. Do you want to find a product that's original? Maybe, maybe not. I don't think it really matters. I think what matters is who you are. Now, from a business standpoint, if we've got some CEOs sitting here and they're, I don't know about that, Troy. What did Walmart bring to the market? Did Starbucks launch with a unique product? They were a few years old before they brought out the Frappuccino, which was their first unique product. Or what about that what's the name of that little company? Apple. Apple didn't bring out a unique product until the 21st century when they brought out the iPad. And yet look at where they're at today. We could even say that Amazon, what uniqueness do they have? It was Ford who created the assembly line. All Amazon did was put it all under one umbrella and make it easy. You don't have to be an original product, but you yourself need to be the original. You need to be that one person. Chris Ducker, who created the youpreneur, there is not another Chris Ducker out there at all. There are some great leaders in marketing and in business and in virtual assistants and all this good stuff. There's only one Chris Ducker. There's only one you. Keep that in mind right there. Number 10, tackle procrastination. It's usually negativity in disguise. That's what procrastination is. Procrastination is just not putting off today what you can do tomorrow. Procrastination comes down to a negative feeling inside of you sometimes. It's like, well, I'd do more, but my boss is a jerk. And see, think about this for a minute, because this is where it gets into our mindset. Most of us are working 9-to-5 jobs. We're waitresses, we're waiters, we're blue collar, white collar, we're working in the pharmaceutical business, we're working in printing, we're working wherever we're working. And here's the mindset, and this isn't just on Main Street America, this is Main Street across the globe. It's sad, but it's true. I'm gonna work just hard enough not to get fired. And my boss is gonna pay me just enough not to quit. So what happens? There's a lot of procrastination. A lot of stuff doesn't get done. A lot of vision goes by the wayside. This isn't easy, but you've got to focus on that. Procrastination, I don't know, maybe it's an addiction. Maybe it's like everything else that's called an addiction. It just becomes a habit, and that's really what I think it is. We get into this habit of procrastination. Honey, take out the trash. I'll do it later, honey. Next day, it's still there. Hey, kids, can you do the dishes? Okay, Dad, we'll do them in a minute. Hey, Johnny, did you get your schoolwork done? Oh, I will before tomorrow. You got to harness. If you're going to be a youpreneur, if you're going to go out there and build something that your family can trust is going to sustain them if you quit your day job, then procrastination has to be something that you're going to focus on. Number 11, don't try to be the expert at everything. Man, bad. You know, people, I remember this is probably 3 years ago. I'm at the front of the room. I'm at the DS Edge conference, and somebody said, Troy, what is it that your agency actually does? I said, oh, we're a Renaissance agency. Because if you look at the Renaissance man, Da Vinci could do it all. He was a philosopher, he was an inventor, he was a scientist. I thought, how cool is that? Leonardo da Vinci is one of my heroes. Of course, Leonardo, the Teenage Ninja Turtle, is too, so I don't know what that says about me, but here's the deal. You can't be a Renaissance anything. Now, in the background, don't get me wrong. You can do a lot of things. You know, our agency has modeled the Boston Consulting Group. They're the first business consulting group in America. They're awesome. They do some great stuff. But we realized early on, we stand for one thing. And we're good at one thing. And because we're good at that one thing, that is going to be what our focus is, period. And that's what you have to do. Find that one thing that you do well, that one thing that makes you unique, and then you drive that all the way to the bank, and you make that the number one. Number 12, I'm going to let you guys go in a second. Don't make business more complicated than it needs to be. Good gosh. You want to know where I see this the most? Well, used to see it the most, still do, I guess. Direct sales. A direct sales company who should be a simple message, right? We're all about the people, so we're just going to go out and we're going to help the people. They make the marketing complicated. They sure the heck make the compensation plan complicated. Okay, if a judge who's sitting on the bench can't understand the compensation plan, it's too complicated. If a forensic CPA who is in the middle of a court case cannot explain the compensation plan, it's too complicated. I'm trying not to get myself in trouble with any clients. If your berry that you found on a Pacific island in the middle of nowhere with no history on it, but you've been able to write the history that this thing will change a boy into a man. It will do whatever. And you've made that storyline so freaking complicated that people don't know because you want to add the science behind it. Then you're not going to make it. Your brand, you as the person, whatever it is that you're going to be doing in the you economy, make it simple. Simple is more. In a post-trust era, the more complicated you make the message, the less trust that you're going to have and the faster that it's going to disappear. We don't believe anything anybody says anymore. So stop trying to sound like you're smart and just be you. Because when you're just who you are, people watch, people listen, people give you leeway. In 2012, I had a client that became the world's largest Ponzi scheme due to the amount of people that had joined it. And it was devastating because it hit the media, all the haters, even some insiders. It was everywhere. And here I am as a consultant to the company in just as much trouble. All of them, the attorneys, the consultants, everybody. I mean, the regulators came after everybody. But because I didn't complicate the issue, when the news came out, when I had my settlement with the SEC for the infraction that I had, I didn't run from that. I didn't try to make the story some grandiose story. I just said, hey, you know what? I screwed up. As my good friend and mentor Richard Brooks says, I was too close to the forest to see the trees. I wanted to help the people. I wanted to make sure that the reps were there. I really wanted to even help the owners. It's like, man, fix this thing. If you guys are going to do this, do it right. Don't just be doing it. But because I did not complicate the story, because I didn't try to sugarcoat it and spin it and do anything else, we just hit it head on. I didn't lose as much trust with people. And some of the people that I did lose trust with, I gained it back because I was straightforward and open and honest, and still use it in presentations today. The craziest part was when it all went public. I was literally at the Catalyst conference, 15,000 spirit-filled men, all in the faith-based arena, and here I am, one of the top people that is there, and it's like, wow, this ought to be interesting, but yet so forgiving. See, you want to make it simple. Don't overcomplicate this stuff, okay? There's no reason for that. Just be you. Be real. You know, when you look at, I'm going to get to number 13, but when you look back to, I guess this would have been in the into the 90s, middle 90s, we had a giant strike in Hollywood. Some of you kids that are watching may not remember this, but all of a sudden, all the actors went on strike. That was a shift and a turning point for TV. Because what happened was all of a sudden we started seeing non-actors come on TV. That's where all of the new voyeur type shows that came out at the time, Big Brother, MTV had one that was Road Rules. I mean, it was just normal everyday people having a blast. And today, look at how many television networks are built around that, from HGTV, the shopping networks, the Food Network, Discovery, I mean, all these shows have real live people in there. Restaurant remake, bar remake, all that stuff. Think about that for a minute. Number 13, be prepared. This is big. Be prepared to break the rules. It's no more about the status quo. It's no longer about, hey, I'm going to do it this way because that's the way it's always been done. When you look, there was a documentary made, The Men Who Built America. And it's the top men in real estate, in railroads, in shipping, all this. When you look at what they've done, they broke the rules. When we move that to the current stage of where we're at, when you look at the women in business today who broke the rules and said we can do it better, we can do it different. They've dominated male run industries, from banking to technology to science, even the religious culture. Now we're starting to see it in sports. And this is huge, because we're talking about people that they weren't outlaws, but they knew, hey, if we're going to shift history, there's a new movie coming out with Harriet Tubman. Tumlin, I think so. I don't know how she said her name. Here's the deal. She created the Underground Railroad during the Civil War. She broke the rules in the 1800s. Not only was she black, she was a woman. And she was able to create something that shifted history. Matter of fact, I've never seen a good girl that made history. And I don't mean that in negative. What I'm saying is, and the Always brand, actually with Procter & Gamble, did this best, okay? They used the hashtag like a girl. Because in our world, and I use this, and this is why this is important to me. I got 5 daughters, but here's the deal. So many times we look at the phrase, she hits like a girl. He runs like a girl. Well, he laughs like a girl, as if it was a bad thing. So when you're out here and you're looking at this, you've got to remember, if you're going to be a youpreneur, you're going to break the rules. Which means there's going to be people really close to you who are probably not going to go on the ride with you. That's that guy that you're working on the assembly line with, and he's going, yeah, probably. You're going to fail. You'll be back here. That's the girl that you're working with in the job, and yeah, that ain't going to work. You were always meant to be a barista. You might get to be manager one day, but you can't run your own business. These 13 principles, if you will line them up and put them to work for you, can give you that jump start that you need. I challenge you, write this stuff down, get through for the next few days. And I challenge you to make October 1st the quarter where you're going to shift everything. And you take October, November, and December. In the old days, we called these madman cycles. You take 90 days. In boot camp, we just called it hell on earth, but it was 90 hard days that took a boy and made him into a man. In this case, you're going to take who you are today and you're going to shift everything. And you're going to say in the next 90 days, starting October 1st to December 31st, I'm putting the plan together. I'm going to put these 13 principles into action. I'm going to find what I want to stand for. I'm going to find what my unique voice is. I'm going to find what it is I want to do. I was on the phone last night. I've got a great friend of mine in Australia. I've got one in Texas. We're on there. We're brainstorming because, boy, they got a vision for 2020 that's second to none. And you have to do the same. Guys, have a great day. This was a little longer, but I think it's important that we really hone in on what you are as a youpreneur in the you economy. Stay humble, stay strong, and you've been listening to the voice of Main Street America.